Hi, I'm Erica, a mom, wife, and caregiver. I have been through the highs and lows of having a child with a medically complex background and special needs, all caused by epilepsy. I'm here to let you know you're not alone. There are so many resources out there, and that you too can and will come out on the other side stronger and more resilient than you ever imagined. It's not always easy, but I'm here for you. Welcome to the Parenting Epilepsy and Special Needs podcast. Welcome back. I am currently recording this episode in mid March, and about 8 years ago, at this exact time of year, my youngest daughter was being discharged from a 5-week inpatient rehabilitation stay after having a hemispherectomy brain surgery to attempt to stop her seizures. And as photos pop up on my phone as memories, it brings up so many emotions, but also it is an extraordinary reminder of how far she and all of us as a family have come. Prior to the Hemi surgery, our daughter could walk, use both of her arms, and had full vision in both eyes. She did have challenges prior to her surgery that included regular seizures, a speech delay, impulsivity as a result of increased seizures at that time, and was showing signs that she was developmentally delayed compared to other 3 and 4-year-olds around her who were not suffering from regular seizures. So after the hemispherectomy surgery, our daughter had to learn to regain full strength throughout her body. After 2 weeks in the hospital, her and I were transferred to Shirley Ryan Ability Lab in Chicago for the post surgery rehab. This state of the art facility is absolutely amazing, and the therapists there are top notch. They saw other post hemi surgery children before my daughter's stay and knew exactly what to do while working with her on visual scanning. Now that she, again, as I mentioned, was only able to see out of half of each visual field in each eye. They worked on walking as her left leg was now paralyzed, but she would be able to move it and walk on it with support after intense rehab. Then they also worked on left side awareness. They worked on with her left hand on being a helper hand. And there were so many other areas of life that they worked on, such as toileting, bathing, eating. It was a very in depth therapy stay, and we learned a lot. And as we arrived home in mid March, after a total of 7 weeks away from home from my husband and my two older daughters, I remember being so happy to be home, but also life as we knew it prior to this surgery was never going to be the same. So, for example, prior to this surgery, I worked in the corporate world along with having my real estate license, and I was doing real estate transactions on the side. Our daughter's seizures returned, and while she made a ton of progress during inpatient therapy, it was clear that additional intense outpatient therapy was going to be needed, but the end date was uncertain. So, because of all of this, it was becoming very clear that I was not going to be able to return to my full time corporate job, and that in addition to taking on the role of a caregiver, part time therapist, and her driver to all of her required appointments, that a typical full time job was not going to work in our new life. Thankfully, as I mentioned, I had my real estate license, and I still do, and began working hard to create business for myself in between managing therapies and everything else that was going on. Although we made it work, this was still a very, very difficult time. I don't think you realize it when you're in it, but it was hard. We were trying our hardest to do our best to make life as normal as possible for our other two older daughters. So, with all of this in mind, as I look back at these first few years of this journey from diagnosis to her hemispherectomy surgery and then until now, I can see the different phases that I went through as her mom, an advocate, and her caregiver over the past 12 years. First, you go through a phase of shock and denial. You're in shock that your child is going through something so incredibly traumatic, such as for us, it was infantile spasms. And you're trying to do everything that you can to get the right care and answers. I can remember the first doctor that we had at a local hospital who clearly did not know how to properly treat our daughter's condition, telling us that it would most likely not impact her development. Something deep down was telling me that while I didn't want to believe that we were dealing with something major, again, there was the denial that this was not the right doctor for what we were dealing with. And we needed to get her to someone who could guide us effectively ASAP. I was so done with this doctor that I not only got our doctor scheduled with an epileptologist at our local, well respected children's hospital about an hour away from our home, who ultimately saved her life, but I also scheduled multiple doctor's appointments with other doctors in the major Chicago area where we're located, and tried to get her in front of anyone that I could who could give us some kind of answer. I would also like to mention that with regard to the phases that I'm going to be talking about, they don't necessarily come in a specific order and then you're finished experiencing them. You may go through them again at various milestones throughout your child's life, and you may personally experience them in different orders than I did. So, the next phase that I can recall was grief and anger. And sometimes people experience guilt during this time as well. As we got settled into our life over those next few months and years, something happened. Something happens as life goes on, as school starts, friends come into the picture, sports and activities begin. And as happy as I was that our daughter was making so much progress and working so hard in every area across her life, as a mom of a child with a disability, you sometimes can't help but feel the grief over what could have been. The anger of, why did this happen to our baby girl? Why does she have to work extra hard every single day at the little things that most of us take for granted? Why do we have to fight so hard for across so many areas of her life, from school to the medical side to insurance to daily life to helping her through seizures? All of these feelings are completely normal and necessary as you go through the process of accepting life as it is now. You need to mourn the life that you pictured before all of this trauma entered the picture. This is one of the hardest parts of the process, in my opinion, and can sneak up on you at different phases of your child's life. Then, another thing that can occur is as a parent, you can begin to feel alone because no one understands what you're going through. No one understands your daily life except the people around you in your home. But they're dealing with their own emotions and just trying to cope as best as they can. So, how do you, as a mom, get through this phase? I personally found it extremely beneficial to take part in therapy. It helped me immensely. It helped me process a lot of these strong emotions and gave me the tools to help me work through them as they creep up on you throughout life. Whether you decide to join a group or do individual therapy, I highly recommend joining to help you get through and process this phase of your journey. So, next came seeking out solutions. This involved a proactive approach to our situation of constantly working towards finding a cure, intensive therapy, and seeking out resources. The years following our daughter's hemispherectomy surgery were followed by additional surgeries to determine if there were any remaining connections or scar tissue that were potentially still causing seizures. Then, furthermore, there was weekly intense therapies to help her towards her physical, language, and daily living skills, goals that we were working toward, to identifying technology and tools that would be useful across her daily life. In addition to this, I would work extremely hard with her on her school reading, writing, and math IEP goals. She made progress, and I was so proud of her, as I still am. But I also remember feeling as if I was failing, no matter what I did. There was always still something to work on, and it was overwhelming. Looking back, I was doing everything in my power to help her catch up to her typical peers who did not have epilepsy and the list of other obstacles that made learning in everyday life a little more difficult. So, a few years later, mind you, this specific piece for me is taking place during COVID. So, a few years later, I recognized that I am not going to be able to realistically help her succeed in every area of her life. It's unreasonable. Just like any human, she has good days and bad days. She makes progress and sometimes she'll regress. But overall, she makes progress at her own pace. I still work with her across many areas that are both academic and therapy related, but I do not stress myself out anymore about the progress being made as a result of my efforts. I have learned that she makes progress in one area, and maybe the next year she makes more progress in another. It's okay. I want to be the first to tell you to not put that pressure on yourself. You will drive yourself crazy if you are like me, and that's what I did. It's okay to support and practice skills with your child, but please do not feel like you have to spend hours working on every area every day. It's not sustainable. And then, the breath of fresh air. And next came acceptance and adaptation. I have talked about this phase in past episodes, and I can remember moments where I felt as if I had a weight lifted off me. The day when I truly accepted my daughter with special needs and epilepsy and disabilities for who she is and what she likes and progresses at her own pace was a really good feeling. This is truly when things changed. It's like a switch flipped in my brain, and I stopped trying to always feel the need to get her caught up. I accepted that it's okay if she loves toddler and preschool music and it makes her so incredibly happy, which now it also makes me happy too. And if she loves that for the rest of her life, I am totally okay with that. I accept that it's okay if she wants to listen to Christmas music every morning, because yes, sometimes we do that, not every morning, but most mornings, even in the summer, if it makes her smile and it puts her in a good mood and starts her day off right. Life just feels somewhat easier. Of course, it's still hard at times. So I had to say somewhat, but when you as a parent accept your child no matter what for who they are, it doesn't mean that you are giving up on them or no longer seeking a cure or solutions. It means that you can still work towards all of this if it's necessary, but alongside that, enjoying life with your child instead of constantly worrying about how to fix them or having the feeling that life won't be okay until they're okay. So I'm still in the process of working on minimizing or stopping my daughter's seizures altogether, but I do not know if or when that will ever happen. So my advice is to enjoy the journey no matter what it looks like. Another thing that happened as we began to accept our daughter's condition and diagnosis was that we began to adapt to make our life and world around us more inclusive and accessible. We, we realized that there would come a day when when we couldn't carry our little girl up the stairs to our second level and that she may not have the energy to walk up the stairs with support. So, we purchased a stair lift. We realized that we wanted to be an active family and that some activities such as attending our older daughter's softball games or going on family walks through a forest area, something that we absolutely love to do, might not be feasible with a wheelchair. So we purchased a special needs stroller. We also realized that we needed to explore other car options because it was getting more difficult to get our daughter in and out of the car that we had at that time. So we purchased a van. We did not do all of this in the same year, but over time. We planned for these adaptations that we could foresee would be required to make life easier on all of us. Then the final stage, advocacy and confidence. During this phase, you may find yourself transitioning from a feeling of overwhelm to a sense of empowerment. You understand your child and their needs. You know how to effectively communicate what is best for them in a variety of settings, whether it's school, maybe day camp, or during a doctor's appointment. I do want to state that while a lot of our children's needs are ever changing, there are certain things that you know will be required for them to succeed in school or stay calm or occupied during a doctor's appointment. There are always toys, music, or activities that are consistent with your child despite the inconsistent life of special needs parenting. You are able to plan ahead for things such as a vacation or an overnight stay and have the confidence that you know what will be needed to ensure that your child is taken care of and comfortable. This is also a stage where some parents feel called to help other parents in the form of starting a podcast, writing a book, or starting a career in a field that helps others, maybe based on your personal lived experiences. So, as I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, these phases are something that I noticed myself personally going through over the past years as a result of a variety of things that we went through with our youngest daughter. You may identify as finding yourself in one stage, but maybe you haven't experienced them in the same order as I did. And that is okay. We are all human, and our experiences with our children with special needs and or epilepsy can vary. In closing, the most important thing is that we as special needs moms do not walk this journey alone. I want to encourage you to reach out to friends, family, or a therapist if needed to communicate and share the many emotions and feelings that you are having. People do not need to understand every aspect of your life and or what you're going through to lend an ear and listen. It can be really hard at times, but there are also so many beautiful and very hilarious moments, at least for me, on this journey. As always, thank you for being here and for listening. I am so proud of you. I'm here for you and I know that you are doing your best with everything on your plate. So until next time, stay strong, believe in yourself. You are an amazing mama, and your child is lucky to have you. Please share this episode with someone who could benefit from hearing it. Don't forget to write a review or rate this episode. It would mean the world to me and helps get this show out to others who need this information. You can also follow me on Instagram at parentingepilepsy_special needs. We'll see you on the next episode.